Good morning. My name is Mike McDermott. I'm the principal at Indiana County Technology Center. And I've come today just to do a presentation on using PAE TIP. It's a program out there that basically simplifies, in my opinion, the process of the teacher evaluation process as a guide to keep track and guide your teacher effectiveness process. And then in the interim, we'll also talk about the teacher effectiveness process itself. I'm going to approach it from my perspective, a part-time CTC, which may be different for, from some of your perspectives. But feel free to ask questions, and we'll see if we could hash out the answers if things differ as we go. So before we begin, I want to get an idea of who the audience is. So how many instructors in the audience today? How about administrators? Okay. How about part-time or full-time CTCs? Part-time. Full-time. Okay, good. So we have a slight mix. So again, my focus is going to be Indiana County is part-time, so I'm going to lean toward that direction. But if you have any questions feel free. We can go off the path. That's fine. What do you believe? What is your opinion of what's the goal of the teacher effectiveness process? So when you get all the way to the end and you get to that 82-1 and you sign our names and we meet, in your opinion, what's the goal? What are we trying to accomplish there? Yes? Make the teacher better. Okay. What else? Improve student achievement. Improve that process. Good. And I always think back to, I'm going to date myself here, back to the Debbies. When my first principal's position, they had the Debbie card. 20, 80, yay you. See you next year. And the first time, and again, I was young. I considered myself young at the time. Young guy, come in, and I didn't put 20s down. I put a few 18s, 17. Heaven forbid I put a 15. And whew, that was almost unheard of, unacceptable. What do you mean I didn't get the 20? So then I had to go back and say, well, look at our observation. Look at, how about the time I came in and the kid was standing on the desk? How about, going through that process? And I remember it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And now I feel like this process has come full circle now in this teacher effectiveness model. There's so many components to it and the documentation on both sides. It's pretty clear at the end that, the evaluation, both sides can see it coming, so to speak. You pretty much know where you are the whole time along through the process, and it's a collaboration. It's working together. It's not a wait to the end and there, I got you. We're doing it together, teacher and administrator, the entire time. At least that's from my perspective. And then that takes me to the formal observation. So again, depending upon your perspective, maybe teacher or administrator, what's the goal of the formal observation? So I'm coming to see you. One of my teachers is here, Chris Shirley. In fact, I told him, hey, Chris, we're going to this conference. You're going to be there. I'm going to do this on teacher effectiveness. Hey, do you mind if I stop in? Well, I'll just do an observation, and I'll use it during the conference. What's he going to say? Yeah, sure, he says. And that's what we did. So my goal there was to say, hey, non-threatening. Hey, I'm just going to come in. We're going to go through the process, and I'm going to take what we come up with and use it at the conference since you'll be there. That was my goal. I told him up front. He knew what we expected. Now, he might have some anxiety saying, boy, I hope it's good and so forth, and only if it's good and all this stuff. this process, I believe, helps establish the goal of the formal observation. It's a dialogue. You could talk to each other. He and I talked to each other about the process in the hallway. You know, I walked up to him and we talked. The whole time through the process, we talked to each other in the hallway in passing. I went down and I stopped in his program area, you know, for a short period of time. But we did it as just a dialogue between each other. Now, if I was going in for a more specific purpose, you know, say, hey, this is what I really want to see. And then part of that pre-conference meeting, we would really establish, you know, this is what I want to see, this is what I'm expecting to see. Or what do you want me to see? What do you want me to focus on? What do you want me to look for? And again, it's not, well, okay, you know, I'm going to mark down all the negative things or or pat you on the back the whole time. We're going to work together to improve the teacher instruction, to improve student performance, you know, improve what we do in the classroom, meet our building goals, reach our student learning objectives. All of that becomes part of the whole process. So, and again, at least from my perspective, that's the point of the observation. So as we walk through, again, I'm going to present some information from a part-time CTC perspective. And if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to do so. And I'm going to operate my PowerPoint here. If you go on to the PD website, lower left-hand corner, there's a teacher effectiveness tab, and you click that. PD's actually did a really nice job of putting all this information right there in that one solid spot. So sometimes finding information, it's all over the place. PD on the website has it condensed to this one area, and in the back of your PowerPoint, it's condensed, you know, just a reference point. But basically, this is the pie chart for the teacher effectiveness system. The teacher observation and practice is 50% of the evaluation, final evaluation. So when we go in to do those formal observations, those walkthroughs, anecdotal records that we have, that all becomes part of that observation and practice. Building level data. For part-time CTCs, we don't have that. And I can say, you know, whew, because, you know, that's a complicated piece of the evaluation process. So what they do for part-time CTCs is, and we'll get to it in a different chart, and then during the final 82-1 piece, when we walk through that, it just transfers that 15% of that building data into the observation and practice portion. So our observation and practice is worth 65% of the overall evaluation. And I'll walk you through that process when we get there. Then the teacher-specific data, 15%, and that's data attributed directly to that classroom teacher. And if you notice the asterisks here, the student learning objective process, the asterisks there are IEP goals progress and LEA developed rubrics, part of the student learning objective process. And then the elective data, again, the asterisk there, using your student learning objectives to come up with that data. Industry certification examinations on our end, obviously the NOCTI, and then our other certifications that we give throughout our program areas, student projects, and student portfolios. This is my creation of the pie chart. In preparation for this I was going through the updated Educator Effectiveness Administrative Manual that's on the website, and it was updated in July of 2014. Well, the previous version, July of 2013, there was a nice, neat pie chart for the part-time CTCs. So, of course, I wanted to use that and draw that. So I contacted the information email there and said, hey, where's that pie chart? And the response I got was, it no longer exists. You will use the 15% and the 20% and basically follow your SLO process. So even though this isn't an official pie chart in the part-time CTC world, this is what it looks like for myself and our teachers. This is what we have to keep in our mind when we're doing the teacher effectiveness component and doing the final evaluation. So that's what we're dealing with and working with. You've been given a handout, a separate handout, that has the steps to the observation and practice portion, and it's all on one page because on the PowerPoint I was unable to get it to legibly get on one screen. So it's much better if you refer to what you have in your hands. And it sort of just takes you through a nice step-by-step observation process of what takes place to come up with that formal observation. And then at the very bottom there, it mentions the walkthrough. So when I jump to the Pennsylvania Electronic Teachers Porthole that ICTC uses for their teacher evaluation, it will walk me and my teachers through this process step by step. It tracks it for us, and it eliminates me going back and forth with paperwork and so forth. So again, I'm not a salesman for PAETEP, but it happens to be the tool that we use, and there's many out there, but that's what we're going to see. So the second slide is also, it continues to what you have in your hand. And then the use of walkthroughs as well. This is what our site looks like. So when I went to Chris and I said, hey, I'm going to come in, you're going to get an email, I told him. You'll get an email, and it'll give you a pre-conference form to fill out. And complete that for the lesson that I'm going to see. So in other words, he's telling me, okay, this is on the observation that we've agreed to. Tell me, when am I coming in, and what should I expect to see on that day? So when I send him the email, he knows, okay, this is my observation, and I need to complete this for that specific day and time. So I'm going to jump out of there and jump to my PAETEP screen. And then this is what I see. I get on and just a simple log on. And all our teachers have a password and log on too, with the other hundreds of passwords and log ons that they have. And I basically click to the observation management. I see a list of all my teachers' names. Maybe. There they are. I scan down, and I find Chris Shirley, and I start the process. And it gives me a list of steps, step by step, of what we're going to go through together. And he sees this same screen when he gets on. So this first one, the pre-observation questionnaire, so that's what I sent to Chris. Here, fill this out for the observation. that I'm going to come to see. And he did. Then I get it back. When he's finished, it comes back to me. I can't do anything else until he sends it back to me. So then I'll click on it. And then I would see everything to the left, and my box is to the right. So there is everything that Chris sent to me of what I would expect to see in each of the domains and how it relates to this lesson in each of the domains. And then in the box to the right, I get to ask questions or follow up or anything I have in my mind. And again, a discussion should take place, because then the next screen will say, okay, we need to walk through this lesson and pick a time and a date and so forth. And again, we did this very informally. I walked down and said, hey, I got this. When do you want me to stop in? What time? Okay, it was in the morning. All right, great. What am I going to see? You're going to be in the classroom or the program area. And we walked through the lesson, and any questions I had at that time, I asked, and any questions he had at the time, he asked. But again, it was informal, so we just said, okay, we're ready to go.
So is everything you're seeing on the pre-observation, is that just the elements in domain 1 and 4, or is it 1, 2, 3, and 4?
That's just one, because it's the pre. It's
so the pre-observation focuses
on one, correct.
Right.
Then here's our conference. Then, so after I send it to him that it's complete, it'll tell us, okay, have a pre-conference. And at that time, we log in, or I log in, the date and time of the observation. And then again, that's our little signal to say, okay, we agree. Go back. And then it'll tell us, okay, complete the observation. It'll give us the date and time. It'll send me a reminder. It'll send him a reminder. So we do so. When I got to Chris's program area, I had my iPad with me. And it just gives me that white box, this white box here. And basically, I script out what happened, and it'll timestamp it for me. So all those timestamps I didn't enter. It just happened to be whatever time it was when I did that. So as he was going through his lesson, I would type in and click and walk around with them and type in and click and talk to a student and type in and click. And it would just keep track of it. But it wouldn't tell me what domain it went in. I didn't assign it yet. After the lesson, I came back to this page and sat down. And if there was anything additional that I wanted to add, I could add to it. And it wouldn't have a timestamp to it. It would just have my comments. And then I needed to select a domain of where I felt that individual piece fell into. So if you see on the side status 2C and so forth, but if I click here, it'll allow me to say, oh, I changed my mind. You know what? I thought, rather than 2C classroom procedures, maybe that's, better culture of learning. So I could click and change that. But not now, because we've already gone through the process. But it gives me time to sit and reflect and say, okay, where did that statement, the class started, as a review of the 4 types of mortar. He's masonry instructor, obviously. So that's, I just typed it in. That's how he started. And then where I felt that fit in after the lesson. Okay. So there's scripting, and then this one is observation notes. So anything that I didn't script but I still wrote and wanted to include, I could go back and add some things to them. And then it populates this frame here. There's 2A, 2B, so forth. And it'll populate those areas for me.
So your comments are in the second column?
This is all my comments.
Just the second column. I can't see what the heading is.
Oh, I'm sorry. These are all my comments. This is what I typed as I was in there, and it put the timestamp in it. And this is when I came back and added some things.
Are you receiving a hard copy or something online to reflect back on later?
And we're going to go through that. So again, I knew that was going to happen. I can't do my part until he does his part. And conversely, he can't do his part until I do my part. So it's a back and forth, just like on that pencil and paper, but this takes care of the pencil and paper for us. I mean, that's why I like the component. So I completed the observation, and then when I completed the observation, I clicked send, and then he got it. And then it was teacher's review of the evidence. So it gave him a chance to look at everything I typed and to respond back. And then it actually gave him 3 things to do: respond to the observation, review the post-observation questions, and then do a self-assessment. So after the observation, he had 3 tabs to complete. And again, I could see them here.